7 regions, 7 duos from around the world who've all just won the biggest tournament of the season. Asia winners Merrim and Zagu won 4 games out of 12. So how did they do it? Making pre-edit plays was a large part of their success. They frequently do this at 5th zone, but also do this a bunch to the moving zones as well. Now you may think this is where they set up the pre-edit, but that's actually not true. You can do this through a cone above you, which allows for the fastest transition from scouting for a team to be able to pre-edit to actually fighting them. Taking this fight at 5th zone gives them tons of materials, which leads to their success in the endgames. There's some really cool small things that these teams do in order to actually win games. And most people think that you can't use a grapple glove to take height, but Merrim and Zagu end up doing this from the underneath, swinging around, which allows them to go on top. So with the FNCS Invitational around the corner on the 12th and the 13th of November, all 7 of these regions' champions are going to go head-to-head against each other, with basically every other FNCS champion from this chapter and best players from every region. So how do I think these guys are actually going to start to do in an international LAN environment? Well, let's start with the smaller regions first. Alex and Bailey ended up placing first this time, but they've also had a second and a third this chapter. They're clearly the best team on the OCE region, and we've seen good performances from OCE players when it comes to international events before, so I do think these guys can do really well. Helon and Rapid from Middle East, I'm not entirely sure how they're particularly going to go. When I watched their gameplay, there was a ton of mistakes, and there was a lot of plays that I watched that wouldn't necessarily work against the best of the best in every single region. In particular because they were contested off spawn and still managed to get the grapple gloves pretty much every single game, something that I know in EU, Kami and Seti would have just taken. And I could say similar things about Brazil's Retake and Novice. A lot of the plays that they made would not fly against higher level players. I would kind of say the opposite for Zagu and Merrim from Asia, however. They look like a team who's been practicing for a long time. Their positioning, their endgame, their rotates, everything looks super solid from them, and of course that's why they ended up winning 4 out of 12 games. I'm slightly concerned about NAWest, Cool and Yummy since they are newer players. They looked like they understood what they were doing really well. However, there were a lot of smaller mistakes that I watched that would not fly in an international stage. For NE's Commandment and Avery, I think these guys have a really good shot at a top 10. There were a lot of mistakes, in particular with Storm Surge in the mid game, so hopefully if they can figure that out by the time it comes, they can do super good because their end game was really solid. And similarly with Vidil and Janice, I think these guys have absolutely the biggest shot at coming in the top 10, even in the top 5. The consistency that they showed in EU FNCS Finals, the hardest region, I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't be able to do that at an international stage as well. Hey, like and subscribe.